get hello?
Hello!
I like what Viola did there in the back. Can I get yeah?
Yeah!
Awesome. And guys, let's have another battle cry. Got something else? Got something else clever?
What?
Battle cry? Shall we say Avengers Assemble? Go on, 3, 2, 1.
Avengers Assemble!
And a special oh hi Mark for your costume. I saw you yesterday. You are awesome. Okay guys, so we are Nerd to Know Media. We run a podcast every Saturday, and you can find us on Facebook and Spotify and all these wonderful things that the other two guys know more about because they do all the hard work. And today we're going to be doing a panel called Literally Everything is Wrestling. So, full disclosure, I know nothing about wrestling. In fact, I didn't know I was... Boo-booed. Well done, sir.
I already have a heel in the audience.
I was telling the guys, I didn't know that I was hosting a panel on wrestling till I saw it on Facebook. Because that went up before I got the message. Thanks, guys.
He was sweared, guys. He was sweared.
In fact, on a bad day, I can't even spell wrestling, so I'm really glad it's written up there. Is that correct? Yeah? Awesome.
I wrote it.
So, before we get started, we'll just introduce ourselves. We are the Nerd to Know Media team. My name is Cian and introduce yourself there, guys.
I'm Darragh O'Connor.
And I'm Brin O'Rourke.
Excellent. And guys, this is going to be an interactive panel, so if you guys want to pip up or throw out a suggestion, we'll cue you in for that. But first, the concept, as far as I can understand, because I've spent the last 2 days running around chasing TARDISes and all this kind of stuff, is that you two believe that you can prove absolutely anything in the world is wrestling. Anything at all.
Yes, that is correct.
So if we say the poetry of Seamus Heaney or abstract art or raiding Area 51, that's somehow connected to wrestling, yes?
Yeah.
Alright, so before we get into the meat of it, I believe, do you guys have a setup for us?
Well, first things first, guys. Who is a wrestling fan here? Show of hands. Okay, cool. That's about half the room.
Yep.
Good. That's great. That's what we want.
So you're going to help us.
Yeah. But we want people who aren't wrestling fans here as well, because, you know, that's how this works.
Just me, is it? Okay, cool.
Just to get everyone...
Kids friends, thank you.
Just to get everyone on side a bit, we do have... we do actually have a quick introduction. I just want to make sure this is from actually...
So for everyone who is a wrestling fan, here is an introduction.
Hell yeah.
Woo! That's fun.
What's your favorite imaginary 51?
Hasn't turned off yet because we're not exposing Area 51 here.
Don't walk around it. That's okay. Tell you what, while you are setting up, I've got a question for Darragh. How long have you been a wrestling fan?
Since I was 6.
Since you were 6?
Yeah, 6 or 7. I don't remember a time when I wasn't a wrestling fan.
Should you have been... I say this as a parent.
No,
Should you have been watching wrestling at 6?
Of course not. This is during like the Federation years into the Outer Yard.
Excuse me, the Federation
Yes.
years.
Alright, so...
That's not Star Trek.
That's not Star Trek, guys. That's not. This is when WWE was going from kid-friendly into not kid-friendly. So, yeah. Here we go. Let's kick it off with the first part.
And what about yourself, Brian? While it's low.
Professional wrestling is not, in fact, a real athletic competition.
Botch. What a botch.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to swivel this a bit while we handle the technical difficulties. So, if you can multitask. Brian, how did you discover wrestling?
Through school, mainly.
Oh, Jesus, what school did you go to?
Because all my friends in school, they liked it, so I don't think I need that there.
I mean, to be honest, maybe it's a generational thing, but my experience of wrestling is it's the thing you turned off after Pokemon at 7 in the morning was done. Is anyone else Sky 1 generation? No? Woo! Yes!
Actually, distinctively, one of my earliest memories of Sky 1 and wrestling on Sky 1 was The Undertaker crucifying Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay, I'm going to...
Like,
Just to
what?
clarify, as the wrestling normie, if there's a term he uses, I'm going to stop. Crucify?
Yeah, literally on a cross.
Yeah, no, he actually kind of wanted to...
He was a satanic priest.
On the Lord's table, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Alright, let's try this again.
Oh, God.
Hit the only
Okay.
Me, professional wrestling is not, in fact, a real athletic competition. There's no getting around that. Guess I have to end the video here because pro wrestling isn't real.
It's still real to me, damn it!
But neither is Star Wars, or the Avengers, or Goku. Doesn't stop people from talking about them far more than they do a lot of real things. And in order to truly appreciate the rhetorical value of pro wrestling, you must treat it as it really is, a work of fiction. But not just any fiction. Pro wrestling is one of the last remaining bastions of theater. Playwrights and actors had to craft compelling narrative performances using the limited tools they had. If you boil it down, the genre of theater mostly involves a bunch of weird people in stupid costumes prancing around and over-embellishing in iambic pentameter. Theatrical entertainment doesn't come from what's literally happening on stage. The value of theater comes from filling in the blanks of your imagination. This fundamental principle is otherwise known as the suspension of disbelief. Suspension of disbelief allows us to accept beyond what's literally happening on the screen. It allows us to experience a story and its characters as real, no matter how simple the presentation. This same principle applies to novels, comic books, musical lyrics, cartoons, movies, and yes, professional wrestling. Visual storytelling is an inherently human art form, and people have been performing stories for audiences for thousands of years, dating all the way back to the earliest known auditoriums of ancient Greece, where citizens would gather around and listen to an esteemed orator recite the works of Homer.
I'm so angry.
So guys, if you want to watch that full video, it's by Emperor Lemon, and it's called There Will Never Be Another, and then that's a series. So yeah, it's super fun, and I had to play that clip because it kind of sums up everything. Why everything is wrestling, or everything can go back to wrestling, is because of the way it's built up. It's not a sport, right? It's yeah, it's more of a soap opera. I describe wrestling as a soap opera of punching. Alright, obviously not taking anything away from the wrestlers who are incredible athletes and all that kind of stuff, but the actual way that the story is told is through tropes. So we have major storytelling tropes: the good guy versus bad guy, the hero's journey, whatever. Any story that you can mention, anything that you can mention, goes back to wrestling in some way, or has been used in wrestling in some way. Also, when you guys are shouting out stuff, if we don't know what it is, give us a quick summary, because that will help. So.
I believe that was Oi. Is that the summary?
Oi. Fair.
I say this as someone who has worked in theatre in Dublin for 6 or 7 years now. I have never crucified anyone. That is not a connection.
You've never done it yet.
Yes, perhaps, yeah. I have carried a cross, but I haven't crucified anyone.
Fair. To be fair though, when that was happening, they were kind of pushing out what wrestling was as a story driven product for a while, and that was really getting into soap opera. You know, so and at the time as well, it was 1999, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. 1999, when like everything was being broken and pushed, so they were really going hardcore with the offensive imagery, or you know, what you have seen before.
That was very much the zeitgeist of that period. It was a period though, was that everything was trying to be in some way striking or offensive. It was at a time when Marilyn Manson was one of the biggest names in music.
Yeah, correct. And like that's what I mean. Like when you're examining different periods, it's a lot easier to get these beats in, and that's what relates to people, right? A lot of people, not to get too much into it for the non-wrestling fans, but one of the bigger criticisms now with wrestling as a current product is like, oh, I can't relate to it, because you can't, right? It's kind of silly. But when it hits those beats and it hits those big storylines, it really resonates with somebody, and that's kind of, if you've never seen wrestling before, that's when it's great. When it's great, it's fantastic. When it's terrible, it's terrible.
You know, it's like when wrestling is at the high point of what you could expect from it. It's every bit as enjoyable as any of the best Marvel films. But when it's at its lowest point, you're kind of comparing it more to a 14-year-old's fan fiction that they deleted because it was bad.
Yeah, my Immortal. So I would have seen that. Actually, Game of Thrones, right? Who's Game of Thrones fan? Or was?
There's still fans. Look at
Yeah, this is what I mean, right? Like the big thing about Game of Thrones was everybody loved it. It was the best show ever, blah blah. Blah. And then it ended up getting bad writers, or they ran out of good material, and it became just a terrible, terrible, terrible show for a lot of people. I don't think that personally. He petted his dog at the end. I was happy, right?
Spoilers.
Spoilers. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, this is terrible as ever." I'm like, "Try to be a wrestling fan, you'll get over it." Okay, but I want to park it for a bit. Brin, pull up the wrestling terms, because again, we're going to use a lot of when we get into this. We're going to use.
This is mostly for my benefit.
This is for everyone who isn't a wrestling fan benefit.
Yeah.
We can't control ourselves.
If you've all got sandwiches, they're gonna catch me up now.
All right.
So, I mean, the basic rundown of this is you've got your good guys and your bad guys. Babyface would be your good guy. Very much a case of it just being the hero or protagonist. You can get anti-hero style baby faces where it's someone like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Tweeners. Tweeners.
Yeah, I'd say that
One term at a time. I beg you.
But like basically, your good guy tends not to really have a personality most of the time.
The
They're
one
just
baby
nice.
face. John Cena.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan. Exactly.
Like gimmick. Basically, like just basically it's like a what would you call it? Like a shortcut to just saying like, well, what's the main character change? So
the motivations for what they're going to do, who they are as people, shortcuts. Wrestling, the reason why a lot of things that can be described as like racist or everything else that you could use is because wrestling takes a lot of shortcuts.
yeah,
For a while, terrorism is a big thing in wrestling for a while.
yeah.
Okay, you're not leaving that point. What?
Yeah, there was
Many times. Where do we want to jump in? Anyone want to jump in? What's their favorite terrorist angle?
Muhammad Hassan.
Muhammad Hassan.
everyone's favorite terrorist.
That's a t-shirt.
Guys, am I going on a watch list? What is this?
Alright, so Muhammad Hassan, it was actually played by an Italian guy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was by a non-Arab, non-Muslim Italian guy. And basically this was in 2005, before the London bombing happened. And it was during jingoistic America, so it was like, oh hey, he's going to come in, he's feuding with The Undertaker, and literally, I kid you not, there was an angle shot where four guys in, basically ISIS
Angle's
costumes.
like a scene.
A scene,
by
yeah,
the way.
sorry. Angle's a scene. Where like these like ISIS kind of guys jumped in and kidnapped The Undertaker, who's an evil space wizard. And they actually attacked him and carried him off to, his doom. Literally, the London 7/7 bombings happened that day, and he had to pull the angle. We never saw from Muhammad Hassan again.
Yeah, he's never seen or heard of again.
Yeah.
I have to go now. Might let it need me.
I think he did something with Hulk Hogan, and that was it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
that was
Backlash to
Yes.
Undertaker.
Yeah, it
I'm
was.
sorry.
And he lost the season before that as well.
A terrorist kidnapped someone to their spaceship.
Apparently, we don't know. He never returned
Does
back.
this
to them.
happen in the ring?
This
or-
happened in the ring.
Yeah.
This was
The kidnapping happened in the ring.
Yeah.
This is also, he did it against a character who also, by the way, can summon lightning, who never does it whenever he's actually in a match.
It just happens before the match,
or after a match, he will summon lightning.
but not during the match when you think you'd want to do it.
That would be very unfair. Yes.
All right. So some terms that you guys wanted to kind of touch on, right? Kayfabe meaning it comes from Pig Latin. We think these are all carny terms. You don't really know. Called keep it fake, right? So that's for you, kayfabe. Angle we've talked about. Heat is
It
there's two.
wasn't there, but we're just going all over the shop now.
Heat is basically like a reaction. So there's good heat and bad heat, and then there's X-Pac heat, which just go away. So okay. So next slide.
The purpose of going over, and the idea is like if someone's going over, it's because they're winning the match.
They're successful. Yeah.
Although it's considered to be the winner's duty to allow the loser to get over. This is basically their opportunity to become popular through
The match
losing.
or losing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next slide there.
So Mark is a really fine name. It's also what con artists have used forever to call someone who is who's stupid enough to give them money. It's
Exactly.
also carnies. So
Yeah, it's like, have you ever seen an episode of Simpsons where they're going into the carnival? They join the carnival, and then Homer's, they refer to him as a pigeon.
Yes.
Yeah, pigeon, yeah. So pigeon is the same as a mark, and that's the kind of same thing.
Yeah.
There's also
It's too late to have an everything is Simpsons references.
they're actually, believe it or not, very related. We might do that next year. What was that, sir? And then, okay, so the obverse to that would be smart. So a smart mark. So somebody who still buys into wrestling is, like that guy is still real to me. Damn it, he would be a smart. So and
he knows it's fake, but he still
buys into it.
He still gives them their money.
Myself
so,
and Brin are smarts.
Yeah.
We're wearing Bullet Club shirts. So it's like it is what it
Too
is.
sweet is separate.
Exactly, too sweet. Yeah.
And then in terms of selling, this is actually something that even happens, as far as I can recall, happens with actors as well, where the idea of it's like the reaction to something, into a physical thing that may not actually be real.
Yeah, that's a fight choreography thing.
Yeah.
The person throwing the punch doesn't sell it; it's the person reacting to it. Sells it. Yeah.
So we saw overselling there in the promo video where Batista wasn't hit, but he sold it like he got shot. That's overselling. That's bad.
Well, it can be really entertaining. There's a great
HBK Hulk Hogan.
yes. That
You've seen that match?
people haven't seen it. Basically, it's basically like watching overacting, but for wrestling.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
2005 SummerSlam. Actually, SummerSlam's on tonight as well, so we're kind of
See, everything is wrestling.
A shoot is where a work, which is also the normal term in there. But work is like a fake fight, right? So every match is worked, as in they've gone through the spots, or who's going to win, and all that kind of stuff. A shoot is we're actually fighting, or we're throwing a punch or something that wasn't meant to happen. A work shoot, or the Vince Russo special. Vince Russo was a booker.
Which is kind of like being the writer or showrunner.
Yeah. And,
Hang on. Wrestling has a showrunner.
Yeah, the booker man.
Okay.
Yeah, because you need someone who the way it worked was the booker was would have also worn the same hat as being the person who promotes the shows overall way back when, and when it came to putting together a show, they booked people and put them, well, you're booked for the main event, you're booked to open the show,
Exactly.
That's kind of the idea behind where they'd have basically come up with a running order for whatever's coming through.
So look, the way it works is you'd have your writers who would tell a storyline, right? And the way they do it, instead of going out and shooting scenes, you'd have matches. So the matches would be booked to progress the storyline, and the angles would be used as kind of key tentpoles throughout the whole thing. And that's basically what it is. And that's
what I would give to be the fly on the wall on the writing sessions for wrestling.
No, you wouldn't. No, you
I
wouldn't.
want to see people with cigarettes and shirts throwing things on whiteboards, throwing those big
that's called
scraps of paper.
That's called TNA from 2012. And I was there. I've seen this.
Yeah. Oh my god. So yeah, in terms of work shoot is basically where they want you to make you think that something's actually happening when it's not. Yeah. Because it's yeah.
So basically, it's when they use your suspension of disbelief to work in real concepts, or they use oh, I never see that in wrestling. It's like Deadpool, right? Deadpool's famous for what? What does he do?
Breaks the fourth wall.
Breaks the fourth wall. What's the fourth wall?
But also swearing, yes.
Yeah, but what's the fourth wall?
Speaking to the audience.
Exactly, right? So, us speaking to you is breaking the fourth wall of us doing a podcast, right? So that's what I mean, Deadpool, that's his whole gimmick, right? So why that sticks out is because nobody does that. A work shoot has the same kind of reaction to it. The lads in the ring or girls in the ring, they know that it's fake, because they're obviously doing it, but they're buying it in such a way that to them it's real. But if they were to look at the camera and go, hey guys, what's up? That would be breaking the fourth wall. So that's what a work shoot is. The most famous one recently was CM Punk. Obviously cutting a promo.
It was 2011.
Yeah, he came out and he was like, hey look, I'm leaving, I'm very unhappy about the way things are here, blah 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 blah. We're not going to play the whole thing, look it up, it's great.
Yep.
Another one was wrestling commentator Joey Styles. He came out and there was an angle where Vince McMahon was feuding against Shawn Michaels, a wrestler called Shawn Michaels, and God, literally, the Lord above, that's who he was feuding with. And Joey Styles cut a promo saying, look, this is terrible, I can't believe that they're booking against God, and you watch it. So yeah, they're work shoots, as in they're written, but they play on things that are actually real. Like Deadpool's a film, but he's still...
So was God there the same day as the terrorist spaceship?
No, this was like a year later. This is a year later. It was a wild time. Wild time.
Yeah.
Terrorist versus God. I'd love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Look at the heel here, guys. Oh my god.
I think here would be a good point to go. So, do you have any other topics that you have prepared?
I mean, I thought these were weird until you brought in the terrorist god space aliens who kidnap
This is why
people.
wrestling can be the best show on television because
So-
it's so weird.
I've had a few weeks to try and think of ones that will flummox them. I'm after how weird wrestling is. I'm not sure if I can anymore, but I will certainly try. Okay, me and my girlfriend love Winnie the Pooh. It's one of our favorite things in the world. How is Winnie the Pooh related to wrestling?
Okay. So.
This is already going better than I expected.
Any ideas on how you want to set that?
Oh yeah, for sure, right? So you have a crowd of a motley crew of characters led by a figurehead. So you can either do two things and they go on adventures or they achieve tasks. So we could either do the Job Squad, which were a group of jobbers. Jobber is someone who loses all the time and that's their gimmick.
Yeah.
Or not a gimmick, but it was a gimmick in the 90s because everything was a gimmick in the 90s, right? But yeah, and then they're led obviously by Mick Foley. So Christopher Robin would be Mick Foley, and he's leading this motley crew of cast members through their adventures and then overcoming.
Tigger is obviously Al Snow.
Exactly, Tigger's Al Snow.
Yeah. Al Snow is great, by the way. He wrestled against himself.
In a fantastic match, he put himself through a table. It was great. Yes, sir.
Who would be ER?
I was going to get to that actually. I would say Blue Meanie.
Yeah.
Blue Meanie or Stevie Richards.
Yeah.
Or both.
Yeah, Holly for Tigger.
Oh.
Rabbit Spencer McMahon, yes.
No, see, you have to be a member of the same group, but, you know, Rabbit does kind of provide some of the files, so yeah, Vince McMahon would be a good one. Yeah, right. Spot on. So there you go. I hope that answers the question. I was going to go with the Ministry, but that's too bad.
Alright, so, sticking with the Disney theme, there are lots of live-action remakes of Disney classics. How are live-action remakes related to wrestling?
Can I take this one?
Yes, absolutely.
You seem
Hardcore Justice. You've seen Hardcore Justice when they reboot. Okay.
I don't have a buzzer. What is Hardcore Justice?
So TNA, which was the number 2 wrestling promotion next to, but literally by existing, right?
Yeah.
Next to WWE, and they decided to take an angle, ECW, 10 years later. So you had guys.
Go through those acronyms.
I will now in a second. So 10 years later, so ECW was an extreme wrestling promotion right back in the 90s and then 2001. And they took their, they were known for doing hardcore spots and all this kind of stuff. Spots is a move, or a big move.
I'm sorry, by the way, guys, get thinking, because I'm running out of these quickly. I'm going to tag you in, okay? Start thinking now.
Very wrestling, yeah.
Yes.
Let's go for the hot tag.
Sorry, Mr. Answer there.
So basically, you know, what's a remake? A remake is taking an old concept and trying to gussy it up. This is the crippling example of doing something terribly wrong, and Hardcore Justice was a pay-per-view done where they took these wrestlers who were broken down, like really broken down, and they just had hardcore matches. So they had guys bleeding on each other and, you know, weird blue lights and stuff. And that's how most remakes turn out. Fantastic Four, or Fantastic Four Stick.
Four stick?
Or Four Stick. That's, I don't know.
Does anyone know how that's actually supposed to be said?
Fantastic. But here's the thing about remakes, right? That's Hollywood remakes, and I think all the Hollywood remakes are terrible for Disney movies. Remakes in general, you can go back further because every 15 years, wrestling angles recycled or reused. Why? Because people age out. People start watching wrestling when they're 8 or 5 or 6, and then they become lifelong wrestling fans. But by the time they're 15, 16, either they stop watching, or their little brother's watching, or their little sister's watching, or their cousins are watching, so they can reuse the angles again. That's why we saw John Cena was literally Hulk Hogan 20 years later.
Oh, so there's like a life cycle for...
Exactly, everything gets recycled over and over again, so remakes is a very wrestling thing as well.
Okay, well, we have...
Let Brin have the next one.
We have... I'm going to do one more question and pass it over to the audience. We have a televised version of Neil Gaiman's Sandman coming up soon. So, I want to throw this over to you. How is the story of Neil Gaiman's Sandman related to wrestling?
That's easy. Literally, you've given the easiest one. I had to do fucking Winnie the Pooh.
I've never read
Singing the Undertaker. Singing the Undertaker. Literally.
Steve, you want to
Staying in the
clarify for the beginner here?
Okay, so actually, feed Brin the premise of Salman real quick.
Okay, it is the first book at least. Is about the god of dreams being kidnapped by humans and escaping to reclaim all of his lost possessions and rebuilding his kingdom.
Yeah, that's just the Undertaker.
Yeah.
That's literally just the Undertaker.
Literally.
The Undertaker is like an undead wizard.
Wait.
Who wrestles for some
We
reason?
have wizards now?
Yes.
Again, this,
Biker as well.
He was a biker. He was a biker and was
he
awful.
had a
Biker
crisis
wizard.
of conscience after 10 years of terror.
And becoming a satanic priest.
Yes.
An Old West mortician.
And mortician. He started off as a mortician.
By
He
the
is
way,
a wizard motorcyclist mortician.
By the way, that motorcycle Undertaker gimmick was, by the way, Dead Man Incorporated.
He's not wrong.
So
Not
he's
wrong,
a
not
What, is he
no.
dead too? What?
Yeah, he's dead. He's
He's a dead man.
How does he find time to wrestle?
I don't know. He's an undead wizard who does all these extracurricular and in real life, you know, in a shoot life, which is real life. He has a big property portfolio.
Oh, he works in real estate.
He does now, yeah.
There's only 7 days in the week for the undead wizards.
But what? You can shoot lightning out of your hands and not use it.
But only when people
competitively.
aren't looking.
Yeah,
You can do whatever you want.
basically.
Alright.
But yeah, I mean, his sources of powers came from an urn. You know, like he had a person who helped in matches called Paul Bearer. Yes. Oh yes.
Alright, guys, I'm going to need a minute to catch my breath. Does anyone have any ideas that might flummox these guys? Any ideas
We have a
on
Roman one.
something in the whole universe that's not related to wrestling? Any hands up? Any hands up there? We have a hand up over there. Go on, try and flummox it. I've been trying this for weeks.
Okay. How is 80s Japanese pop music wrestling?
Thank you.
You do it. You do it.
Just let me bask
So,
in
like,
these 5
okay.
seconds.
For okay, I've never really the closest thing to Japanese pop music I've ever really listened to has been mainly from theme songs for anime. So is that a good indication of what it sounds like? Or
I guess it depends on the anime.
sure.
We might have a winner here.
No.
We should have brought a
I
prize.
cannot remember his name. Wrestler Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah.
Shinsuke Nakamura's gimmick is literally that. His gimmick is literally that. His whole
Dresses like Prince.
he dressed like Michael Jackson, dude. Japanese Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
That's his gimmick. You know, that's how he sells himself. His promos, they all kind of. I can't remember. I wanted to call him Kenta for a moment, but like that's not right.
There's a Japanese Michael Jackson in wrestling.
Yeah, and he's fucking awesome.
Yeah, baby.
He dresses like Michael Jackson and he has a presence like Prince. It's amazing.
So yeah, basically, and this isn't his WWE run. This is his run in New Japan. Basically, he started off as a really boring kind of weighty, generic pro wrestler, and then he started kicking the head off lads and didn't get over. So he actually took that gimmick and worked it into himself, and it's less 80s pop music, but he did kind of take. I know what 1980.
Well,
When did the trailer come out? When did the trailer come out?
83.
83. So yeah, it is 80. Yeah, not Japanese, but he is Japanese, so close enough.
That was a
That is
really
great.
good one.
That's
Well
great.
done, well done. Give him a round of applause.
Yeah.
Give him a round of applause.
I should have bought some TNA DVDs.
Alright, that's the bar to beat. Anyone else? Hands up, hands up. Go on,
Okay,
there, sir.
I've got two. Is
Oh,
that
hang
is
on,
it
what's your
okay?
name there, sir, before we start?
Ian.
Ian, lovely to meet you. Go on there, sir.
I've got two. I'll give one to Darragh and one to Brin.
Cool.
Okay, start with Darragh. Darragh, how does heavy metal relate to wrestling?
Oh, that's an easy one.
That's a good one.
Should we just play the game theme song?
Yeah. So yeah, like wrestling and heavy metal have always been like in sync with each other. Even music in general. The Rock and Roll Express, that was a big thing in the 80s. And
Rock and wrestling.
Rock and wrestling, yeah, that was literally a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yep.
Yeah. So in the 90s, when wrestling got more aggressive, we had heavy metal coming in. Like I remember my first time ever hearing Fear Factory, the band Fear Factory, right?
Yes.
Was in my favorite promo of all time. Was for Unforgiven 1999. Who's seen it? Who's seen Unforgiven 1999?
Yes.
Now, who's seen it not on the network? Yeah.
Spider-Man has.
Yeah, so basically that they've ruined it on the network by removing the music, but they had an awesome playlist where he told the story of Triple H against Vince McMahon, Triple H, best wrestler of all time, don't care, where they fought, where he was fighting against Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon was, trying to basically beat Triple H. And he had the entire story told to Fear Factory's Obsolete album, and it was unreal. And the end of it for the six-pack challenge was Sugar by System of a Down. Heavy metal is so entrenched with wrestling that it's hard to imagine one way or the other. Modern day wrestling, a huge problem in WWE. Watch one of the video package where they play some R&B garbage. Doesn't work. Put a metal track on it, it's unreal.
Now, I believe, Ian, you had a second question, did you? Or did you sell the mic?
Yeah, just a second. I'll give this one to Brin, actually. Just to point out one thing, you could have also said before, like, black metal probably got to Europe, that demolition was a sign of black metal in wrestling.
Well, actually, Aleister Black refers to himself as literally the black metal of wrestling. So, Aleister Black.
Okay, Brim, I've just bought this one because I'm sitting beside this cool dude here.
Sure.
How does The Room relate to wrestling?
Okay. So
They do toss a football around. Is there something there?
And a baby.
So what happens when you get something like The Room is where you get a very passionate but very, very incompetent person making a film.
Sorry.
It's not your fault, you're not actually Tommy. So
We think.
To be honest with you, that could be, like,
yeah.
it could actually be.
But basically, like, you only get that from having someone very passionate but not competent at all in what they're doing. And somehow they get a ton of money together and manage to make that film. And that's basically what happened with Total Nonstop Action, where when it started off, it just had a small bit of money, and then it got bought by Panda Energy, who
Had loads of money.
who had like almost too much
Those
money.
pandas.
Well, unless they were boiling down the pan.
Yeah.
No, they were just an oil company.
Yeah, they were just an oil company, and they had so much money, and they put out, I would say, consistently for about 6 years, the worst wrestling ever seen.
They tried, though. They tried.
did
By the way,
try.
I need to get my bias. I actually worked for TNA for a while, and their PR department. So that's why I'm going to do a book eventually, though. So it's okay. But I always say everyone there is super nice, but. Yeah,
tried
they
their
had
best,
no
but it
clue
wasn't
what
good.
They, they had no clue what they were doing, and basically they were run by Dixie Carter, who, while she's a lovely lady, holy Christ, that woman knew nothing about wrestling. So you could see it, and this is when we got some terrible. We got like everything on a pole match, reverse battle royales,
Reverse steel cage matches.
electrified steel cage match.
Are they outside the cage?
Yeah, in the reverse steel cage match, the way to win was to be the first one who got into the ring.
Well, that's just a foot race.
You would think so. Yeah. Oh.
And at every point in time, they were like trying to make the best thing that they could, but failing at every single hurdle.
And like even when they did something good, they'd pull a Game of Thrones on it, where it would be like really, really enjoyable, right up until just about the end. And
Can we just, before you go on, can we
awful.
make that a pulling a Game of Thrones? Is that the new, like, pulling a Homer? Is that
I think
like,
so.
yeah.
That's when you're doing such a good job, right up until the last bit, and then it just fails. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ian. Those were very good suggestions. Do we have another hand in the air? What's your name there, sir?
Simon.
Hi, Simon. Nice to meet you. What have you got for us?
So let's just. How would you adapt, say, the Old Testament into wrestling?
So, how is the Old Testament?
Which part?
Just any part, just pick whatever, like.
If you, like,
We could
do
do
that,
like
which
book from the Old Testament specifically? Which one?
Let's just
Revelations of the New Testament.
let's just go full let's just go full Moses, like.
Moses. Oh
Yeah, because I'm just like.
Oh man, that's great.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
What, did Moses wrestle the ocean?
Moses, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Right? You had the king of Egypt, right? Okay, there's no story about Moses, but we're going to recap it. Moses was born as a slave, then adopted into the royal family.
Like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Hold on, I will get to it. And then he ended up leading the Jews out of Egypt and all that good stuff, right? So, Stone Cold Steve Austin was a no-name wrestler, right? And then he became the standout figure in 1996. Came from nothing, right? Just like Moses. And then he fought the highest power they could. Vince McMahon, who was just,
effectively God.
effectively God for wrestling. And he did it successfully. He took his own little followers out as well. He had like a little crew that he, interfered in matches with and all that kind of good stuff. And then, so you can do it. And Stone Cold did do it.
Yeah.
But Moses didn't fight God.
Well,
but he did fight the Pharaoh.
He did.
He did struggle against them, I suppose.
And he did fight against the Egyptian gods apparently as well. So yeah.
Oh, if you get Egyptian gods into wrestling, I will watch it.
That's happened.
Dude,
That's happened.
there's kaiju wrestling that can be done.
Yeah. We can just look and open up a Chikara card.
All right, that was a really good one. Thank you. We've got a hand up way in the back there.
I had to say because it was Sunday,
You know what? I didn't expect to talk about the Old Testament.
The day of our Lord Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I've got two, one for fun and one as a tough one.
Ooh, I like it. Go on, give him a go.
The fun one is Pokemon Go.
How is Pokemon Go like wrestling, guys?
Well, Pokemon Go is basically a journey into the unknown, isn't it? You start off your day, you're playing Pokemon Go, you don't really know how it's going to go.
GTV.
And then suddenly a chair hits you? What? No, go on. I'm sorry, I don't mean to tease. Finish the analogy.
So, you can... Actually, no, sorry. The hardcore division. The 24/7 hardcore division. So, in 2000...
We could use the modern day 24/7.
We could, we'll do both. So, in 2001, the hardcore title, which was literally a world title that they smashed up and you could beat anybody anytime, it became a 24-hour match where if there was a referee in place, you could challenge for the belt. So, if I had it now, Brin could attack me, or anyone of you people could attack me and then pin me for a belt, and then that would do it. Yes, sir.
Oh, hang on, actually, Amy, sorry, by giving away my bias there. You had a second question, didn't you? A difficult
No,
one.
we're not done yet.
Oh, we're not done?
No, we're not done, no.
Oh, there's more, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. So, how it relates to wrestling is, Pokemon Go, you never know what you're going to catch. Right? You never know what's going to happen.
You never know what the next encounter.
Exactly, you're just walking in the road. It's like being the hardcore champion or the current day 24/7 champion, where you can go into the bathroom and someone hits you with a chair, pins you, and then walks away.
Yeah.
It's just like catching, you run into a Bulbasaur.
Or having a battle
Bulbasaur, this is cool. Sorry, what?
Or having a battle occur at
Exactly.
time.
Exactly. So there you go. Hope that answers the question.
Before we go on to your second question, in wrestling, do people just jump out at you in the bathroom in day-to-day life?
If you're in the 24 division, yeah. There was a wedding. This happened like 2 weeks ago, where a wrestler called Drake Maverick was getting married.
Yeah.
Basically, and it was just they had ideas for how they wanted to live their lives versus how things were, and I mean, there's too many things to fit into that framework. Because you could go with in Japan. There's this faction, Bullet Club. They were a bunch of European Pacific Islanders and American wrestlers who were told, "You're in Japan now.
You have to be respectful.
You have to be respectful. You have to do things the way that we do it." And they went, "No, and
we're American,
and basically
we're going to do whatever we want."
Forced the qualities of wrestling that they were trained to do onto Japanese wrestlers, and they became massive villains because of it, and became massively popular.
Basically, the way Japanese wrestling works is all the baby faces are usually traditional Japanese guys. Any Westerners can get over being superheroes because they're Westerners.
Yeah,
and that's how it works. Yeah. Basically, these guys are like, "Yeah, we're just going to go and we're going to do everything differently."
They refused to speak in Japanese as well, which was also a massive no at one point. Now it's fine, apparently.
But yeah, also to add to that, I would say the authority angle.
Yep.
So the authority angle is when Triple H, best wrestler of all time, King of Kings. He was basically came to power. He was playing the Vince McMahon angle a couple of years ago, and he went through the whole roster saying, "This is how it's going to be. This is how we're going to organize it," and would nominate champions to go through and fight for it. So you constantly have that dynamic where there is that push against authority or against authority figures, and depending on how you react to that,
it's one of the most common themes.
Exactly, it is. Yeah,
like anti-authoritarian.
So common, in fact, that when it's not there, it's different. So now it's a bit more like commissioners in wrestling were a thing, and they were just guys who came out every now and then and meant something. Now if the authority figure doesn't come out, it's kind of weird. So it's a trope that's been played out, really.
Would you consider Jane Austen to be an influential figure in wrestling then, by that extent?
Why not?
All right, who's next there? What's your name there?
John.
Hi, Sean. What's your idea?
John.
Oh, John. Oh, I'm so sorry. Go on there.
How would you work Doctor Who into wrestling?
Oh, we talked about this earlier on.
Considering we have not one, not two, but 3 doctors and a TARDIS in the room. So, I am very interested to hear this, guys. Go on.
Oh, they stumped.
Right at the last minute, we've got a tricky one. Well done.
Oh man, so like the challenge, one of the challenges with this is that I haven't really seen that much Doctor Who. So
Okay, now I want the wrestling boo. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, how about this? Okay, all right. I will feed you basically. So Doctor Who is an interdimensional time lord who has adventures with companions.
Yeah.
Right there.
So
Yeah, and then he kind of regenerates and all that. Let's just take the first part of that. Okay, go for it.
So he's just an interdimensional.
Yeah. And he can travel anywhere.
Time Lord.
Yeah.
And what does this have to do with wrestling?
How is it going to do that?
Yeah. I mean, I think if you again, it would be very much a case of like, it would be taking the. Actually, hang on a second. Didn't Chikara do a time travel?
They did. That's what
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
So there was a.
Excuse me, there's a time-traveling wrestler, is there?
In Chikara there is.
They did. Yeah, they did time travel.
Well, that's a distinct advantage, isn't it?
So look, Chikara is also the same place where there was a match between a broom and a mattress.
Yes.
And a ladder and a mattress.
Yeah.
And I think the mattress won a title.
Like, are we talking like bed knobs
That was
and
the
broomstick
time.
style? Like, how does this work?
Chikara is a small wrestling company that has made a name for itself by really going quite hard into doing things, doing sci-fi and doing sci-fi tropes in wrestling. They had a heel faction of giant ants. Take over the company.
Yeah.
I can stop you right there. We watched the Doctor Who the other day where he fought ants.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
We are on our last. You can't finish your answer, sorry.
But for Chikara, it's kind of like a catch-all for a lot of those kind of things because they've done time travel. What they did for it was they'd taken a year out and filmed almost the entire year of it, and then they went back and started doing things live again, and they went, we've got to go back in time, and then just put everything.
And Brin, when you know something like that, the wizard did it.
Yeah.
So, were the ants live too?
I mean, there were people in ant costumes, but
Oh,
you would
now
say that they
I'm
were
on it.
ants.
The suspension of disbelief, isn't it?
Well, that's another Doctor Who connection right there. We are running out of time, unfortunately. Who has questions or ideas? Spider-Man, you have been a big contributor to this whole evening, so I'm glad that you got a chance. What's your name there, or do you want to keep your identity secret?
I'd rather keep that secret, thank you.
Put
Okay.
your mask back on then.
Exactly.
Oh well.
Go on there, Junior Avenger. What's your idea?
Well, of course, Paul Heyman being my favourite manager in WWE at the minute. In the past, I've referenced him to Ren and Stimpy, the reason being Rennie can give kick-ass lines, although making the crowd laugh, which we've seen on Monday Night Raw when Paul Heyman came out with Brock Lesnar in the past. I was wondering, who would you reference Paul Heyman to?
Ooh.
Do you want to go first for that one?
I'm going to let these two guys go first.
Alright, so Paul Heyman is like the evil genius of wrestling. That's what he's known as, in the shoot, right? Oh, sorry, in the work. But it's where you want to, which kind of angle you want to take him at, right? So you mentioned currently, right? So I'm just going to take him as the advocate of Brock Lesnar, right? So I would say he's that kind of archetypical, are the kids here?
Yes,
Yes.
my
Okay.
4-month-old.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's the first word you're told.
Fair. So
And
so
6-year-old as well there, yeah.
chicken ass heel, where he goes off and he hits these, he cuts a promo and then going to say whatever he wants because he knows he has Brock Lesnar has his back, right? So you name a character like that, Loki in the Avengers, right? He's kind of, talking all this garbage talk because, he had the backing of, he always seems to have the backing of the bad guys, he had Thanos as backing at one point. So yeah, that's what I was referring with. He plays that stereotypical archetype of an amazing idea man who has the muscle to back it up.
You make a really good point, actually, because I saw Loki come out at Comic-Con once in costume.
Exactly, yeah.
And the way he worked the crowd and hyped up in his cape with the horns, it was like a wrestling match. Did you ever see that before Thor Ragnarok?
And that's
came out and he's like, I have an army and all that.
And that's what Brock Lesnar, that's what Paul Heyman is. Paul Heyman is the ultimate hype man. Yeah. Literally, sorry for interrupting you, but anyone who comes out, for anyone who doesn't watch wrestling, all his promos are, he's like, I am the advocate of Brock Lesnar. He is the first person you see before Brock Lesnar comes out and kills people.
Wait, there's killing in wrestling?
Well, not literally.
Way too much. Well,
actually, Lucha Underground, there was killing. There was killing in Lucha Underground.
And Vince McMahon was blown up one time.
Yes. But
wait, no, one time. There's no one time we're getting blown up. If you get blown up one time, you're blown up.
Not in wrestling. Or comic books. You always come back.
So the one thing I was thinking of there was, taking the modern version of Paul Heyman with, Brock Lesnar. It's kind of like watching the Monstars and their their manager from Space Jam, and imagining if the Monstars actually played NBA and just destroyed everyone.
That's better.
Yeah.
That's better.
That's basically like Brock Lesnar is basically all the Monstars just put into one body, and that's kind of who he is.
Yeah.
He's a frightening man, and I think.
5 minutes.
We are nearly out of time, so before we wrap up, is there anything else you guys want to show us, or will we just...
There was one last...
do we have time for it?
We do. Does anyone... We'll have one more. We'll fill one more. Okay, hold on. Who hasn't had a go yet? Okay.
Overso, with the immaculate beard there.
That's quite a beard, yes.
It's a good beard, alright.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh. Oh man, Dungeons and Dragons is
too hard to get team.
But
it's not too hard though.
No, it's not. There's a lot of ways you can look at Dungeons and Dragons, right? But when it comes to the way that wrestling works, you're still inventing a character. You're still basically going, well, I want to have a certain fighting style. Could I be a luchador where I'm all agile like a rogue? Could I be more of a powerhouse where you're basically like a barbarian or just a standard warrior or whatever. Again, there's technicians where you're there's technicians or
the thing I would say
charismatic like a bard. There's any class you can think of in D&D, you could cross that over into wrestling quite easily.
With characters, but if you actually wanted to see it play out in real time, there was a show called Tough Enough, and literally that was a reality show about trainee wrestlers coming up with characters. They were kind of setting themselves up for a career in wrestling. And yeah, as Brin said, barbarians, strong guys, strikers, submission artists, technicians, all forward. So yeah, but it's too complex. We could do a whole panel on D&D and wrestling, So
I'm up for that.
Like that cockle check.
Okay. So while we fight the machine, let's. Oh, is it all ready?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So what is this you're showing us, guys?
So this is just the last thing. This kind of cuts through.
Lovely.
Wrestling is mythology. Wrestling is action. Wrestling is comic books. The only thing wrestling isn't is wrestling.
So thank you for not mentioning it.
Yes, thanks guys.
Excellent. So thank you so much. Now, before we wrap up, guys, want to give a shout out to where you can find us. We do podcast every single week along with lots of other cool stuff. Guys, if you like this and want to hear some more or even get involved, guys, where can they find us?
Basically, Nerd to Know Media is where you can go. So we're going to have cards, so if you guys want cards, come up and get them when we finish up. But there's no excuse not to find us. Nerd to Know Media, everything. Spotify, Gmail, YouTube, Twitch.
Carrier pigeon.
Exactly.
Wrestling carrier pigeon.
Wrestling carrier pigeon. Everything. So if you like what we do, you can get us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, all that good stuff as well. So we do a podcast every week, Nerd to Know basis. and then we do other shows.
Yeah, and we don't just cover wrestling, we cover all the nerd news as it comes out. We've got ones on video games, on Marvel, we did a retrospective on Spider-Man recently. Like, what other kind of stuff do we cover?
Star Wars fan theories. How to fix Star Wars.
I wish we had time to go into your fan theory. You're going to have to check it out on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
And
You
best of all, because we're on every platform, if you guys want us to talk about anything, or even just want to hear your voice mentioned or anything in the show, or get a shout out, hit us up. We're very easy to approach. And thank you so much. Anything before we wrap up, guys?
No, thanks very much for
All
having
right,
me.
thank you so much. You have made this awesome.
You, the people out there, you're the stars.
Oh, the stars. Thank you so much, James.